Recording in progress.
2025 at 6 o'clock, and time for the meeting of the Board of Directors of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District. Can we get the roll call, please?
Yes, Director Gould.
Present.
Director Stark.
Here.
Director Weber.
Here.
Director Wood.
Here.
Director Costa.
Here.
Director Clark.
Here.
Director Rice.
Here.
Director Saylors and Director Jones are both absent this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Costa, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director. We'll start off with the Metro Cable announcement. Today's meeting is being recorded. The recording will be available on Comcast or Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and DirecTV cable systems. The recording is also going to be closed captioned and video streamed on metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays at 6 o'clock on Monday, September 1st, and again at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, September 3rd on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can be viewed on demand at youtube.com/metrocable14. Now is the opportunity for public comment on matters on or not on the agenda. Do we have any comments?
Yes, I have a speaker card from Roger Mitchell.
Welcome, Mr. Mitchell.
Good evening, Board Chair Wood, directors, Chief House, staff, and public. My name is Roger Mitchell, past director, retired from this wonderful fire department, and I'm here tonight to tell you about our fundraising dinner for the restoration of Rio Linda's second fire engine, a 1927 LaFrance. And you know what? I've got 3 tickets left, so there's not going to be any tickets at the door. But I wanted to tell you about that, and any other directors that would like some tickets, why, let me know quickly. But I think more important than that, since we're almost sold out, is what's coming up on September the 6th. It's an open house at Rio Linda's news station 111. And what we're going to celebrate is we're putting a plaque on Rio Linda's first engine, a 1923 Dodge. The National Club of the Horseless Carriage Club of America recognizes vehicles of 100 years old or older, and they've given us the plaque. Now, it's a very small plaque, but nevertheless, and we'll be there to put that on. I understand we're going to have a real nice world-class speaker and the chief of our department there to say a few kind words. And it's going to be an open house also. So would love to see all of you directors there. So do you have any questions at all?
Do we have any questions for Mr. Mitchell? No, sir. All right. Well, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you out there on the 4th and on the 6th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
I have no other speaker cards. If anyone online on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature. No response, no other public comments. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our consent calendar. Do I have any questions from the board on the consent? In that case, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
We got Director Stark and Director Costa. Can we get the roll, please?
Yes, Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
Director Costa.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. The consent calendar is adopted.
Thank you. We'll move on to presentation items. We've got the Peer Support, Wellness, Health, and Safety Assistant Chief Peck. Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening, President Wood, Board of Directors, Chief House, colleagues, members of the public. Tony Peck, Assistant Chief, Wellness, Health, and Safety. And I'm here with Captain Ryan Manfredi, who oversees our behavioral wellness program. He's going to talk to you tonight a little bit about PTSI and what we're doing here at Metro Fire to help our members, as well as how we vet out clinicians who specifically work with first responders with PTSI. We're also very fortunate to have one of our EAP clinicians here this evening, David Sachs, and he's going to talk to you about PTSI from a clinician's perspective and how they make that differential diagnosis between PTSI depression, anxiety. He should be here in a few minutes. If not, Captain Manfredi's ready to take over for him. So with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Manfredi.
All right. Good evening. Bear with me. This is not my forte, so I've, doing the best I can. I think we have PowerPoint, do we not? Okay. Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm a captain in the Wellness, Health, and Safety Division. I came here to talk about a couple things in particular that we're working on in the Wellness Division. Primarily the PTS, how we're helping our individuals that have been actually diagnosed with PTSD. Also, kind of how we vet our clinicians, where we're moving forward, and then presumably David Sachs will be here in time to bail me out. So as far as PTSD, okay, so this first slide, the San Diego fire and us, these are the claims of PTSD over the last, since 2017. As you can see, PTSD was presumptive in 2020, and there's an obvious increase in both us and San Diego fire. San Diego Fire has a very robust wellness program, and as you can see, even with a robust wellness program, which we are attempting to get up to where they're at and hopefully surpass them, you're still getting quite a few claims. This is about 1% of our membership were putting in claims last year. Same with San Diego Fire. They're about 1% of their membership. So what we are doing specifically here at Metro Fire, I've been working closely with Angela Lewis, who is now, she's in HR, she's the workers' comp liaison or person that's working with presumptives. And she has given me kind of a crash course in what they need at Intercare to make sure that these claims are moving efficiently. Basically, she's telling me exactly what they need, and I'm translating it into firefighter speak so our members know how to get this stuff in as quickly as possible. The paperwork has been the kind of the crux of the problem here. The Intercare has 75 days from the point of the claim to do their investigation and either give it a yes, no, or give it a delayed status. What we're doing now with Angela's help is I give the firefighter that's putting in this claim all that information right off the bat. So the biggest thing is most guys put in the workers' comp claim, they're not putting in the medical release forms that they need, and then Kaiser has different forms, Sutter has different forms, Blue Shield has generic forms. And so what we're doing is we determine what kind of medical insurance they have, get those medical release forms in a packet with the workers' comp paperwork, get that to them day one. So when Intercare gets this information on day one, they've got that full 75 days to do their investigation, as opposed to waiting 2-3 weeks for them to mail those forms, get the forms back, then send them to Kaiser or Sutter, whoever that is. So that is making this process quite a bit more efficient. While that is going on, we've got multiple relationships with facilities and different departments throughout the state. And so we start calling those facilities to see if they have openings to get our member in there. It kind of depends on, every case is different. If there's a substance involved, do they need a dual diagnosis facility? Do they need a detox first? If not, can they just go to somewhere like IOH or the Resiliency Company up in Redding that doesn't require that? They need to be clean before they can start doing some of the treatments. So those are things that we're trying to work on. We've also built a relationship with CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE has facilities they've vetted throughout the state. So we've got a lot of people we can call to get help and find a seat for our members as soon as possible. While that is going on, we also, and this is also a hang-up that we're having, in order for a member to get this approved through Intercare, they need a note from a doctor, either an MD, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist. A clinician like David Sachs can't do the paperwork. They're hard to find, quite frankly. We've got one down south. We've got one here that's okay. We've got a couple that we can use, but that's kind of, that is a challenge as well. So we're trying to build those relationships out and find those psychologists that are willing to work with workers' comp. Another part, while a member is waiting to get into a facility, we're making sure that they are talking to a clinician. So this usually gets back to our EAP through concern and making sure that they're already talking to somebody, hopefully getting some coping skills, starting some of those trauma modalities to help hopefully reduce the symptoms. Most of the individuals that are filing claims are already seeing a clinician, and it's just not working out. But we make sure that is happening. Finally, on the back end, I know the workers' comp liaison spot has been thrown out, and I guess that's part of my role now, and this is part of it, but the back end of this is the follow-up care. I am following up with whoever's got workers' comp, and then with the PTSD claims, I'm following up with them a little bit more. So if somebody goes to a facility and then comes back home, there's follow-up care. With Angela's help, we've got a few clinicians that have agreed to take workers' comp, which is huge because they're still under that claim. They can't use concern with that stuff. So we've got a couple clinicians at work. My job is to just keep following up. I'm checking in with with everybody that's on workers' comp. So I'm calling about every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how intense the situation is, and just checking in on them. If they're represented by a lawyer, obviously I can't talk about comp, but I can offer peer support. So I'll just check in and go, do you need anything? Does your family need anything? How are you guys doing? And that's kind of where that's at. So that's about as streamlined as I can make this. It's a very complex process, but we're trying to make it as efficient and quick as we can so people don't get that denial and the stress and all that stuff and getting them into a facility as fast as we can. As far as finding the therapists that we are vetting, we're part of the Sacramento Regional Behavioral Health Committee. They've been vetting clinicians since before I started, since Jeff Wells was here. Things we're looking for are some basic things. Number one, do they have some sort of a trauma modality that they can help us with? Brain spotting, EMDR, ART. We don't do a whole lot of talk therapy, but that is something, if they're experienced with that, we might use. But quite frankly, those are the top 3 that we're looking at. The other thing, are they culturally competent? Do they know what our job is? They're either retired first responder, they're married to a first responder, they either grew up with a first responder parent, and if they don't have any of that, they take courses or they do ride-alongs so they get that experience, so they know what our job is. They know what a 4896 is, what wall times are, all those kind of terms, so we're not going in there spending that first session describing the difference between an engine and a truck. Okay, and they know some of the things that we see. If they have all of those things, then we have a conversation with them. We interview them, we talk to them, is there a good rapport, and are they gonna mesh well with firefighters? And we kind of determine, it is subjective, but are they gonna be good for firefighters? Are they gonna be good for spouses? Or are they just not gonna fit at all and we just don't add them to our list? Those are some broad things or some objective things we're looking for, those trauma modalities and cultural competency, and then there's some subjective things. Okay, and that's part of, and it's not just me, we'll send like 2 or 3 individuals over to have those conversations and see what people think. Moving forward.
Captain, he's here.
Great, fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward. So some of the things I'm working on, so obviously this is kind of a crash course in PTSD. My goal in this role is to not have people have PTSD. So it's more on the prevention side, which I'm trying to focus on. First, okay, so we've got some spouses. I'm focusing on getting this information out to our spouses and significant others. So it's been mostly the recruit, the academies. I get their email addresses and I'm sending this information out. How to use the EAP, signs and symptoms to look for. How do you ask for help? How do you find help? Those kind of things, because the significant other that we're living with are almost always the first ones that see us struggling. I think most of us know that we can kind of hold our stuff together for 2, 3, or 4 days that we're at work. Maybe we're a little grumpy, but maybe we're tired. And then we go home, and our spouse is usually the one that kind of sees what's really going on. And maybe there's a little bit more alcohol use to cope and those kind of things. So we're trying to educate the spouses as much as we can. This is a survey I sent out to the spouses. We had about 200 on the list. We only had about 89 respond, but we had an overwhelming response on whether a family wellness day kind of thing before their recruit gets online would be beneficial. So that's the thing we're working on for this next academy, is to have that family wellness day to where we bring the recruits in and the family in, low key, they're not in their class Bs, something on the weekend. They've already passed their testing, but they're still not online yet. And we have like a 6-hour day where we have education resources, we have clinicians come and talk to them, we teach them how to use these resources. We have spouses come and maybe have a firefighter and their spouse be interviewed for Q&A, because quite frankly, what does it look like when you get mandatory for Christmas? That's some things I don't think a whole lot of spouses understand and what that looks like and how you have those conversations and work through that stuff. So that is something that we are working towards for this next academy, and educating our spouses as much as we can. Let's see here. This is our EAP usage since 2017. So in 2017, we had 76 cases. One case would be, I call it our EAP, I need some sessions. I get 8 sessions, that's only one case. So in 2017, we had 76 cases. Last year, we had 237 cases. So we had a 211% increase in our EAP usage. I want that number up there. I want that number higher because I want our members getting in sooner rather than later. I want them talking to somebody that's got the experience to assess them and give them some tools sooner rather than later and give them those coping skills, build that resiliency, and get the help sooner rather than later. It helps with divorces and all that stuff too. Currently, we have a contract with Concern. We're going out to RFP this year for a more robust contract, and quite frankly, what I'm hoping for, we currently get 8 sessions for a case. I'm looking to get 15 sessions for a case because that's one thing our clinicians are asking for, are more sessions before they have to call Concern back for more sessions. And I'm also hoping to get their reimbursement rate up to what is more around the market value. So right now, Concern reimburses our clinicians at about $120 to $125 a session. For the things we're asking our clinicians to be experienced in and the trainings that they need, they should be getting paid closer to $175 to $200 a session. That's kind of the going rate these days for clinicians. We're asking, hopefully in the RFP, to have it be closer to around $150 a session. The goal of that is to put our Metro members up at the top of the list. So if, for example, if a clinician has 5 people that have called for sessions and one of them's a Metro firefighter, they know that Metro firefighter's got 15 sessions and they're getting a high reimbursement rate. The hope is that they get our membership, our members in sooner and prioritize their health. I don't want to say over everybody else, but that is part of it as a clinician. If you're getting overwhelmed, which most of our clinicians are, we're trying to incentivize them to pick our members over others. That's about as down and dirty as I can make this. There's a lot of moving parts on this, but the goal is to get our members in sooner rather than later, talking to somebody that's got those abilities. And I'm going to let David take over and discuss what those look like in the treatments. And I'll take questions. Oh, you want questions now?
Yeah, it sounds like we got some questions now.
Okay.
Director Stark? Director Weber?
Thank you, Captain. So we've got to go way back in the early beginning of what you were stating. So psychologists, clinicians, all of that. You had made a statement that you have to have a causation report in order to move forward on this. And again, you're getting your feet wet in this area. I understand that. If you can answer, great. If you can't, I'll follow up with Angela at a later date. But it is my understanding you do not need a causation report if it's a presumptive for the PTSIs and PTSDs. Can you clear that up? Or
My understanding from Angela is that you need a doctor to write that note for Intercare to approve it, at least approve opening the case. It doesn't approve the case. They still have to do their investigation, but they need a doctor to write a request for treatment, an RFT.
even for presumptives?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll clear that up then. Thank you.
And I could be wrong.
No,
Yeah,
that's- no,
quite
thank you.
frankly, I call Angela 2 or 3 times a week on this
No,
stuff, so.
We chat too.
Director Stark?
Thank you. Just a quick question. So I'm a firefighter and I'm having problems and I just give the EAP a call. What is the typical timeline, and not for the whole diagnosis and the whole setup, but till somebody to start addressing your issue or talking to you about that? What's the turnaround?
Yeah, one of the things when we vet our clinicians, we tell them, well, first of all, they have to get back at some point. We tried to do 2 days, and quite frankly, my wife's a clinician. She's working from 10 to 7 most days. And so they can get backed up a little bit. What I tell people is if you haven't heard anything in 4 to 5 days, please let me know and I will start reaching out, because they know that if they're not getting back, and we've had this happen, where if they're ghosting our members and then now they're ghosting us, we'll get them off our list and we won't refer people to them, because that's one of the biggest things. The challenge is with us in particular, if we're not getting answers or it's not working out, we tend to say, forget it, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Is there some mechanism in the meantime, somebody's in distress, to have peer
Yes.
support?
Yes, so yeah, I always offer to meet with them and have a conversation, go get coffee or something like that. It kind of depends on how dire their needs are at that point. So if it's very dire, then we're getting a lot more people involved and getting some more moving parts going. If they just are a little down and depressed or not sure what's going on, that's where that follow-up care for me, I'll be checking in probably more on a daily basis. Go, hey, did you get in? Did you find somebody? If not, we'll start kicking you more. I always send 3 resources, 3 clinicians. I go to call them all and see who you get in first.
Great, thank you.
Director Gould?
Thank you, Mr. President. Captain, you look at these trajectories and the real numbers, the 211% increase, which doesn't appear to be slowing down at all, given the other slide that you showed us.
Yep.
I think it's time that maybe we even have a dialogue about an in-house provider and we fund it and they become a Metro individual. I'm looking at some of the numbers, given what you just said about the hourly cost and those kinds of things. This psychologist, psychiatrist is gonna make some good money, and we're still saving money, but I think that if we have to wait in line, if there's issues with that, and our men and women can't wait, this doesn't seem like something we wanna, spend 5 days thinking about when you make a decision that they've got it and they need treatment. I'd love to see treatment within the hour. And I think maybe we should have some discussions that it's in-house. We're a big enough organization. We have clearly enough cases and then enough visits. And you said you want to see more cases, which I think is prudent, but I don't know that we can then rely on the region to handle that kind of expectation of put us at the front. We have a crisis, those kind of things. So you know of any other agency, maybe San Diego, that's got an in-house therapist and experts that could work for us and not have to wait?
San Diego does have a clinician that we do have contact with. Same with First Responder Wellness. That's who got Jason Watts in for his treatment. The problem is they're down in San Diego or down in LA, in the LA area. We're trying to find somebody up here in the Sacramento region if we can. Yeah, it's been a challenge. I've called around to multiple people and they either just don't do it or they don't get back to me, and it's been a challenge finding one up in this area. But I agree with you. If we can find somebody up here that knows the workers' comp, is willing to work with, it's the workers' comp stuff that's challenging. They don't want to work with comp and do those RFTs.
They don't want to do the paperwork?
I don't know why they don't want to do it. They just don't
I
do
mean,
it.
we could hire somebody to do the paperwork for them and they could focus on their clinical abilities of treatment and prevention.
Yeah, they have to write the report that InterCare gets that says, yes, this looks like PTS, and so let's get them to a facility and the request for treatment. That makes sense.
I think we could work with InterCare. Don't they work for us? Thank you, Captain. I appreciate it.
One question, Captain, I've got. What are we doing to get beyond the traditional tough guy, keep it all in mentality?
Attrition? No, I'm sorry.
No, just say no comment.
Okay, so I teach at all the academies now. I've been teaching at the academies now for 4 years, and we start introducing this stuff. And Chief House actually increased our hours to 4 hours. We were doing 2 hours, and now I have 4 hours to start this at the academy level. So I'm kind of joking with attrition, but that is kind of what we're trying to do. So we've got, I don't know, 5 or 6 academies now that have had this training. Angela and I are now going to all the stations over the next, we've done 5 weeks, we've got about another 5 or 6 weeks left, where we're going over all this stuff and showing some of these stats, because I do have a survey out that's gone out to the membership that shows some pretty shocking results as far as, some of the things they're struggling with, and then putting those numbers up there so they can see that and giving them the tools, explain the tools that they can have to ask for help. A lot of this stuff is just flooding the system. A lot of the stuff we've gone over before, and we've gone to stations and trained before, and you just have to keep doing it over and over and over again. And what I found is the more times that we get out there, the more those numbers tend to go up and people are using the product that we have. If that makes sense.
It does, thank you. Any other questions for Captain Manfredi? No? All right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I have one more thing.
Oh.
President Wood, on your question, the culture change. So Captain Manfredi's done an excellent job reaching out to members who've gone through PTSI or different situations. I think we've had 4 where he's interviewed and they've been willing to share their story, very brave enough to share their story, which has been sent out to all their members. So I've heard from a lot of members that they really appreciate that. That makes them feel like they can open up. So he's done an excellent job as far as breaking down that culture at those 4 interviews. And I think that's what's going to need, along with the road show that we're having, where they go out face to face with the crews and talk to them. So it's going to take some time, but that's definitely the plan.
There was an interview shared with us recently. I think it was one of his interviews, but there was a video shared with us that was absolutely phenomenal.
I think Jason Watts.
Yeah, I
might have
can't
been.
remember
So we've had about 4, and I think the members see that and they feel like, okay, I feel I can do this. So Captain Manfredi's done just an excellent job in doing that. So that's what we need. So
That's excellent. Thank you.
Good evening, Board, Chief. Good to be here. My name is David Sachs. I'm a licensed therapist in Rockland, and I'm one of your vetted therapists. I work for a concern Health EAP, and we have a good team in Rockland. There's some other therapists, some are first responders, some are not. We're all, committed to this population. I was a U.S. Army combat medic, so that's my background, and I have a real heart for first responders. I also work with law enforcement and military as well. So I don't know, I just kind of rushed down from Rockland, so forgive me, I'm a little exasperated. I don't have the slides in front of me that I prepared for tonight. I hope they're embedded somewhere. I didn't memorize it for you.
I just hit that, right? Should work, there you go.
Can I just click it on there? Okay, great, okay. So I'm gonna be talking to you a little bit tonight about the clinical part. I heard some really great questions on access and urgency and quick response. Not all therapists are the same, so I'm not speaking for all psychotherapists that work with first responders. Some of the things that I offer here tonight are things that I do, or at least I feel should be the bare minimum in terms of helping out your people. So obviously we begin with the referral process. It comes to us in many ways. It comes to us through peer support. Leaders like Ryan who do a great job, comes directly through the EAP, either as an email or a phone call. It'll come through insurance providers depending upon the provider itself. It'll come from other therapists. It'll come from directories, like, for example, online directories like Psychology Today, and also words of mouth. What I have found with working with this population is word of mouth means a lot, because the personal connection is what it's about. To go to a directory or make a phone call is daunting in itself. To not know who your provider is can be frightening. And so what we try to do as VETIS therapists is embed ourselves with your department. We're part of the Peer Support Quarterly, other trainings. They see us, we do training in there as well, and we develop the relationship over time so that when Ryan or somebody else gives them the phone number, call Dave, they've already met me and they feel comfortable with the other therapists. The second part of the process of the intake is the phone consultation. As I understand, we do have a problem these days. Many providers are overwhelmed as well in terms of availability. My goal, or our goal, is to respond within 24 to 48 hours, regardless of whether it's a crisis or not. Because, again, it takes a lot to step forward and ask for help. And so it's a priority for me, as I know the other vetted therapists. And so we try to get back within that time frame. I do try to respond via phone. That's the best, but also email, and sometimes I'll text discreetly to get back to that person, to let them know you're on the radar and I haven't forgotten about you, which is obviously very important. Discuss reasons for the services when I'm on the phone. I want to get a better understanding of what they're seeking and what's going on. This is another important piece for the phone consultation. Why it should not be ignored in mental health is because that's where you're screening for lethality. And sometimes what will happen is if the first responder's on the hook, let's say they're suicidal, for 3, 4, 5 days, they've already lost hope. So that deepens the sense of hopelessness, which I think increases the risk. So I think the response time and the phone consultation is very important. Even if I don't have availability, I'll still do a phone consult, and then I'll help give a warm handoff to another referral if I could do that for the first responder. The next piece is discuss availability. Obviously, we know your personnel are on certain shifts, which makes it challenging for us as therapists to be available. And at the same time, with mandatory overtime or response to fire or other emergencies, we have to be as flexible as we can in our schedule for your personnel. And then means of payment, obviously concern EAP. There's no charge to the first responder. Insurance, we can meet that need. And in some cases, they waive that and they want to do private pay. I have a sliding scale for first responders, military, and law enforcement, so I can increase the access and availability for that individual. And then we get to the intake. So the intake should at a minimum include what we call a biopsychosocial questionnaire, just like going to a doctor's office for the first time. We get a medical background, social background, psychological background, and so forth. And then we go into clinical assessments, which I'll cover really quickly. And then, of course, the informed consent to therapy, which is standard, and then the limits of confidentiality. We should be discussing that within our first session for your first responder. And then, of course, the treatment plan, we co-develop with your client. You know, a lot of times first responders are like, just give me the tools, tell me what to do, I'll do it. It's a little bit more complex than that, so, you know, but we want to get buy-in, we want to get a co-development of the treatment plan and goals. And then, of course, we discuss additional referrals. I will mention that particularly with post-traumatic stress disorder, if there's a diagnosis, there's a high comorbidity, fancy term, about 80% of a substance abuse disorder of some type. 80%, it's very, very high, especially alcohol. So we have a dual challenge as practitioners. One, we need to co-treat that, and then we need to co-treat the trauma. And sometimes it's difficult to do both. So we have to make that assessment in our intake. And then we assess for level of motivation. Who sent you here, your spouse, or did you come on your own? So there's different levels of motivation that we assess, and of course the buy-in, and then of course the alliance that's formed between therapist and first responder is paramount because time is limited, and depending upon your orientation theoretically or my skill sets, it doesn't matter. If there's no relationship, there's no therapy. So that's really very important. And then we go on to ongoing assessment of the progress. Okay, so really quickly, I won't get too deeply, and I can talk to you for hours about this stuff, so forgive my enthusiasm. So these are the assessments that I use, and the question that I received from Ryan is like, how do we know it's post-traumatic stress versus, let's say, a generalized anxiety disorder or just depression? How do we make the determination for that diagnosis, which none of us take diagnosis lightly, particularly for post-traumatic stress related to workman's comp and all the stuff that it's connected to. So I use the GAD-7, which is for generalized anxiety, and we're screening for that. It's within a 2-week window of time. The PHQ-9 is for clinical depression, patient health questionnaire. The MDQ is the mood disorder questionnaire that I use. The audit, very important. These are standard within my intake package, and again, I can't say that all therapists do this, but should with first responders. Alcohol use disorder inventory test. The PCL5 is key. That's your PTSD checklist. And so what you can see is I'm taking a holistic view of the symptoms, but also the disorder of the mood, and trying to pare it down and rule out either post-traumatic stress by itself or separate diagnoses that you see up there. Okay, big discussion, PTSD versus PTSI. There is no clinical term post-traumatic stress injury. Why we use that is to normalize the experience to the type of work that's being done and the layers of trauma that are experienced by the first responder. The other part of it actually, when you look at the neurobiology, the neuroscience of post-traumatic stress, it is a neurophysiologic injury. So there is a brain injury in itself, and there's also issues with the body. So, you know, when you look at mental health, you can't separate the body from the mind. They're both the same thing. So post-traumatic stress injury is also a term that they use in Canada more than we do in the United States. For example, the Canadian military uses PTSI, which I tend to use a lot. I really like that term, kind of lessens it helps not to pathologize, you know, a normal experience to an abnormal, a normal situation to an abnormal experience. So we use it synonymously in the mental health field, and it also helps to reduce the stigma, and that's what we're trying to do overall. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a formal clinical diagnosis that we use out of the DSM-5. It's been used since 1980, which comes out of the Vietnam era, and it sits separately from the anxiety disorders that you see in the DSM-5. So it has its own classification, which I'll show you a little bit about that. So we use it interchangeably, but diagnostically, it's PTSD. Okay, some of the symptoms and diagnoses of PTSD. There are 4 major domains or criteria. The first one is you got to have the stressor. That's criterion A, either a directly involved witness, repeated exposure. First responders meet criterion A, no question about it. Then we go into the second domain, re-experiencing and intrusions, intrusive memories, recurring thoughts, nightmares, visual and or emotional flashbacks. The second category is avoidance and numbing, people, places, things, reminders, emotional detachment, and this is a big one because this wreaks havoc in relationships, low empathy. I can talk to you for many hours about couple sessions I've had where he or she has no empathy for anything, and so that tends to be a problem in relationships quite a bit. Negative cognition, that's one of the newer ones, guilt, negative self-evaluation. Increased arousal is the fifth, where you see the hypervigilance, the anxiety, the irritability, and the anger. So to meet the diagnosis, you have to get over the criterion A hurdle, and then you have to meet all the other 4 criteria. If one of the criteria is missing, even if, and I'm going to get to the raw score part of this, you cannot be diagnosed with PTSD. Then we go more into a generalized anxiety or clinical depression. So when I use the PCL-5, and I've done that battery of assessments that you see, if I see the raw score in the PCL-5, 32 or plus, and they meet all of the 5 criteria, then even though the depression scale and the anxiety scale are high, and the mood questionnaire is high or moderate, I will then trump all those other separate diagnoses, and they get the diagnoses of PTSD. I should say, and maybe it brings hope, that we have a high percentage of experienced trauma, particularly with first responders, but actually a very low percentage of PTSD. So just because you experience trauma does not mean it's an automatic PTSD diagnosis. That's something to understand. Okay, so the symptoms that I'm bringing to you have to persist more than 1 month. So it's time sensitive. Anything under 1 month is called acute stress disorder. So when they come in and it's been more than 1 month and they're exhibiting these symptoms, it's now PTSD and not acute stress. And then this is tricky because this is difficult to sometimes detect, but there can be delayed expression. So that would be more than 6 months after the traumatic event or trauma that these symptoms start to arise. For example, in the military, combatants, the average time that it takes for them to show up for treatment, even after the symptoms are surfacing, is 4 years. So 4 years these men and women are living in, you know what, with all of this impairment. Okay, and I would say that first responders too, in that idea of suppression, and I've got this, and even though we're changing the culture, there's a lot of waiting, until it gets really bad. And so I heard Ryan speak to, let's not wait. Let's do early intervention, we call it upstream. Let's not wait downstream until they're manifesting with the full PTSD diagnosis.
Mr. President, can I ask a question? Sir, before you move on to the next slide, you said that you use PTSI and PTSD interchangeably, even though PTSD is the official DSM-5
Correct.
diagnosis.
That is correct.
Is it a fair statement to say that if I score a 31, I have PTSI?
No, PTSI is not even a diagnosable.
There's no way, you can't use this same technique to diagnose PTSD on PTSI.
PTSI is only a term that has been created in the field to normalize and to lessen. It is not something that is clinically in the literature or in the research. It's just a term.
Paul came up with it. You use it as a way to lessen the stigma, as you've mentioned.
We did. However, back to Canada, and I'm not familiar with their clinical, manuals that they use, but they refer to it as PTSI. But we do use the term, as you're alluding to lessen the stigma and the pathology of the diagnosis. Sure. Okay, this slide just shows you very briefly. I want to take you really quickly through the differences through anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress, and I'm not going to go too much into detail for the time's sake. And you can see on the left column are all the features of symptoms with the mood issues, the experiences that they're having, and the depression and the anxiety. When they're in bold and black, that makes it unique to post-traumatic stress versus just anxiety and depression by itself. So what makes a difference in the mood or the experience for post-traumatic stress is the re-experiencing of the trauma, the intrusive thoughts, the nightmares, the emotional numbing, the hypervigilance. The other diagnoses, you won't see that as much versus post-traumatic stress. Primary focus of thoughts are the trauma-related memories, flashbacks, and again, the intrusion. Okay, you won't get that as much. You'll get rumination with anxiety, but you won't get the reliving experiences that you do and the nightmare activity that you do with PTSD. Energy levels, they fluctuate. The nervous system is highly dysregulated in the case of post-traumatic stress disorder. So they can go from being hyper-aroused to hypo-aroused. They can swing from anxiety to depression. For men, a lot, it shows up as anger and irritation, although when you get underneath that, it's more of the depression, the sadness, the grief. Going across, sleep disturbance, anytime you have any mood disorder, and PTSD is a mood disorder, you're always going to have sleep disturbances. And so the difference, even though they're all related, is you have more nightmares, more insomnia, more disrupted sleep, and it's tied to the trauma reminders. A lot of times the nightmares are the trauma events themselves, not always, but they're relatable. Concentration, we have a term, I won't say the word, CRS, can't remember, S means, you can imagine, because usually short-term memory is always impaired. And when you look at the neurobiology behind these issues, the frontal cortex goes offline, and it's very difficult to maintain short-term memory. Physical symptoms, hyperarousal, exaggerated startle response, you won't see that as much with anxiety and depression. And then other somatic stress symptoms are big. All of a sudden they think they have GERD, or they come in and they say, I have problems with my gut, or whatever they're feeling or describing. Gastrointestinal distress is part of this. Usually they'll go to the doc, they'll get Maalox or whatever, but that physician will miss the fact that the first responder may have post-traumatic stress. So whenever they do their biopsychosocial, I'm looking for that as well as a key. Trigger onset, always tied to the experience of the trauma itself, sight, sound, smell, touch, all of that, all the senses that come in. It's usually associated because it's a fear response that's been conditioned. So we look for that. Emotional tone, a lot of fear, guilt, shame, a lot of shame, anger. I've spoken to groups about moral injury. It's another issue. And detachment, a little bit different. You can see similarities between anxiety, but not so much in the guilt and the fear and the shame. Treatment approaches, Ryan spoke a little bit. You can see there's some overlap. I can talk to you for hours about treatment approaches, but when we treat trauma, we want to treat it from the thought process, but also from the body. So CBT, which is great, I don't want to knock CBT, but cognitive behavioral therapy is dealing with more of the cognition, the thinking process. But with trauma lives in the body. Trauma lives in the gut. It's visceral, okay, and it lives at the cell level, which we call subcortical. So what you want to do is you want two approaches. You want a cognitive approach, and you want a body approach like EMDR or brain spotting or other somatic therapy. So we want to what we call sandwich that trauma. And those clinicians need to be skilled in both areas, in my opinion. And then overlap, you can see there's overlap. And the hardest part is that the DSM-5, even though it's our clinical Bible, there's redundancy and there's a lot of overlap between the diagnoses. So that's why I use other assessments to kind of weed out what I'm looking at clinically. And that's all I have from the slides.
Can you go back to that previous slide? Dave?
Sure.
Do you know of any literature that suggests the success rates of early intervention? Getting back to my earlier question of the good captain. Is
Yes.
If we are on the right-hand side and we see cases escalating
Yes.
in our organization and we're looking for somebody who can be immediate,
Yes.
is the literature strong in suggesting that the earlier you recognize and begin therapy at the visceral or cognitive level, the outcome gets that patient back to normal as soon as possible for both themselves and their families.
Yeah.
So do you know of any literature
Oh, yeah.
that strengthens the idea of quick response, take care of it right now?
Yes. The answer is yes, 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 and yes.
Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. So we see, particularly within the first month, right? Because we're in the acute stress phase of the anxiety or the post-trauma. And so if we can intervene within the first month, you can actually mitigate going further into what we call an allostatic load, where, the point, you're at a point of no return. So the answer is yes. And that's not just with first responders, but also 9/11, and other Holocaust, other Vietnam vets, other examples where the intervention was done earlier, and you were able to mitigate post-traumatic stress.
So you've just argued my point that if we don't have to wait in line, it's actually a good thing for our patient.
That would be a yes.
Win-win.
Other questions that I can help
Looking
you
for
with?
John?
Any other questions for Mr. Sachs? No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and
Outstanding.
you're welcome, and I just say it's a real honor serving your department. We do work with other departments, but I really love Sac Metro too, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Peck, anything closing or?
No, thank you.
Thank you so much for the time you guys put into this. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to move on now to our action items. Our first one comes from the board, comes from me up here. It's been quite a few years since we've had our last strategic planning session. About a month ago, the executive committee discussed a proposal that we had from Stephen Weiss and his consulting group to come and lead us in our strategic planning session. Looking back at our history, we've had exterior consultants do the session, and then in the follow-ups each year, that's been done by staff. And from talking to staff, we've largely accomplished most of the things that we set out to do about 5 years ago at the last one, or 4 or 5 years ago at the last one. And it's time, especially with Measure O and all the other things going on in and with the district and our growth right now, that we get somebody in here and help us identify our priorities and set out our priorities for the next 4 or 5 years. And so I spent some time speaking with Mr. Weiss about what we were looking at, what we wanted, and that contract and scope of work is now in the board materials before you. One of the things that looks a little bit different than we had originally talked about a month ago, and the main reason is because we expanded the scope. Rather than just talk to us and interview us, I thought it very important that Mr. Weiss get a good idea and to use Captain Manfredi's term, get somebody culturally competent to help us out here. And to do that, I think he's going to need to spend some time talking with the chief, the 3 deputy chiefs to get an idea of what the areas they deal with. And then also HR, economic development, our labor representative, and I believe that would be Captain Scollard. And then the one thing I added when we were talking, I think it would be very helpful for Mr. Weiss would be to have him go out and spend a couple hours at a station, one of our busy stations, one of our big stations with a full complement. So he's sitting at a table with 10 or 12 of our members to see what they're doing, what their lives are like, what the things are that they're touching and handling. And so all these decisions and all these goals, all these policies that we're doing and setting at our meeting, how that impacts our employees' lives and what they do on a day-to-day basis. So it did expand quite a bit since we talked about it a month ago, but I think it is an expansion that's necessary, well worth it, and it would be a good return on our investment. It would also help make the Saturday that we do this, we come together and do this, it would make that a more efficient process because much of his background learning is already covered. So that's my speech. If anyone has questions about the thought or the proposal, I'd be happy to take it, but I'd also be happy to hear any comments, thoughts from any of my colleagues.
Ted, I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution as it's presented.
All right, well, I got a motion and a second.
All right.
We can get the roll, please.
Yes, Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark. Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
Director Costa.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. You guys were an easy sell on that then. Thanks. We'll move on to action item number 2, adopt a resolution regarding sale of property at 9116 Vancouver. Good evening, Ms. Castleberry.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. The decision before the board tonight is to move forward with adopting a resolution to authorize the fire chief to effect the sale of Station 64 that this board previously declared as surplus property, subsequently as exempt surplus property due to it being a very small lot. We did work with our broker and put the property out on the market, and it's been out for about a month. We received 2 offers. They're summarized in the staff report here. Both of them are within the expected broker's opinion of value. So in an effort to, of course, get the most out of the property for the district, our recommendation is to go with the higher offer, even though there's a little more risk there because it is a loan contingent offer as opposed to the cash offer, which was on the lower end of the broker's opinion of value. So that's what we would ask of the board tonight, and I'll take any questions you have.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Castleberry? No, I'll take them. Director Gould?
Mr. President, is that $4,425,000? And
I think there was a typo in the agenda packet, but on here, no, it's 425,000.
okay, yeah, because commas matter.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to know is if we were going to make some seriously good cash for 64.
All right, any other questions?
I think we should say
Motion
that
on the recommendation. I got Director Clark, Director Rice.
Just a second, we have,
yeah, I think we should reflect for the record that the agenda's been amended so that the amount is $425,000 in the event someone looks at this 10 years from now.
Yeah. The staff report and the resolution has the correct number on it, so.
We got the motion and the second. Can we get the roll, please?
yes, Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark. Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
Director Costa.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll move on to reports. There's no president's report tonight. Fire chief's report. Good
Yes.
evening.
Yes, good evening, directors, colleagues, members of the public. I met with the Folsom City Manager last week, Brian Whitemeyer, and as a follow-up to the City Council, the Folsom City Council meeting on July 8th, where some of you may have seen me speak. We discussed on that meeting last week, we discussed the challenges facing the Folsom Fire Department and agreed to establish a 2x2 to explore potential solutions. At our next September 11th board meeting, I will be asking the board to take action to nominate two of your members to participate on this 2x2. Mr. Whitmire, Folsom City Council, will take similar action at their September 9th board meeting. Just wanted to give you an update on that and put that on record. Some of the events currently that has been happening, on August 21st, Congressman Barra visited Station 26 to personally present awards to Captain Huckabee and firefighter Edwards for their first place team victory at the California State Fair Chili Cook-Off for the Hero Act. It was great to see Congressman Barra and President Jameson there, and all the work that's been done by the International Association of Firefighters, our local, and the congressman for what we were talking about tonight, wellness of our firefighters and first responders. And it was great that we won the chili cook-off at the State Fair. So congratulations to Station 26, and thank you for representing this agency, but more importantly for cooking some great chili. Metro Fire also welcomed graduating class Fire Academy 25-1 into the Metro Fire family on August 22nd. And then a reminder, September 6th, Station 111's open house and the 100th anniversary celebration of Old Betsy, as you heard earlier. And that will be held at Station 111 from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. That's the end of my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Do we have any questions for the chief? No. Thank you so much, Chief. Move on to operations report. Deputy Chief Mitchell, good evening.
Good evening, President Wood, directors, Chief House, colleagues, and members of the public. Adam Mitchell, Deputy Chief Operations. Before I bring up the shift commander to do a very special shift commander spotlight tonight, I just would like to recognize and give some accolades to some of our folks. If you're probably aware, fire season has returned. We've had some lightning activity come through the state, and we've had multiple fires that have started recently. Currently, I held the role of the Sacramento County Operational Area Coordinator for Cal OES, and so when I see all of the resource requests that come in on a daily basis, it's gotten very busy. But specifically when that happens, working in that realm, I rely heavily on our shift commanders who do a fantastic job of making the priority that we've mentioned many times before of no brownouts and elimination of mandatory overtimes to look not just at the day of the requests coming in, but also far out into the future. And they work closely with Battalion 5 and some of the other battalion chiefs, as well as our staffers, to get as best of a projection as they can to do what we need to do here at home to cover our home, but also to be able to deploy some of our members. So we have multiple members deployed right now. So first off, I would like to say thank you. I know Chief Johnson and the shift commanders are in the room. I would like to say a very special thank you to them. They take on a large role in that situation when we get resource requests, but also the battalion chiefs and staffers that are out there at 114 to make sure that we're doing our best to do exactly what we talked about, which is no brownouts and minimize those mandatories. And then ultimately, when those members go out the door, I would also like to thank our members. They have been doing a fantastic job stepping up and picking up those shifts, the balance of the shifts sometimes when we're sending out resources, and also covering those folks that are out helping the citizens in the state of California, but also making sure that our folks here in the local community are being taken care of. So I just wanted to say thank you for them. It's a heavy workload, and I really appreciate all the collaboration and working together and getting that done. So without further ado, I'll ask Chief Johnson to make his way up here to do the shift commander spotlight, and it's a very special one. So I'm sorry. Director Roberts.
Before you finish,
Sure. Sure. Go ahead. Do now?
So, do we have a projection for the next academy? When we're starting?
So that is coming up here in, I want to say, October. I'm looking because the academy is actually under the training division, which is under administration. Are you asking about numbers as well?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if Chief Reek, if you have that.
The next fire academy will start in November, and will be around 25 recruits.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
Thanks, Chief Mitchell.
absolutely. Chief Johnson.
Good evening, President Wood, directors, Fire Chief House, colleagues, member of the public. Thanks for being here. Mike Johnson, shift commander of the B shift. For the shift commander spotlight, it's going to be my honor to hand this podium over to the EMS division here very shortly. The EMS division is doing an incredible job recognizing our members when they do an incredible job, which is pretty much, it seems like once a week we're going to a scheduled event to recognize our members. So we had one scheduled for today, and I thought it would be prudent to just bump it back a few hours and do the presentation in front of the board so you guys can see exactly how this goes down. Some of the most moving things that I get to be a part of is seeing these EMS excellence programs come through the firehouses and to see these, the people who are affected by the job that our members did, but not only that, but their loved ones, their family, their children come and provide their testimony to us is really a special thing. So all those handsome young people back there are here, part of it. So I'm going to hand it over to Captain Hayden and Assistant Chief Keeley in the EMS division to, so you guys can be witness to what they're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, Chief House, colleagues, and member of the public. My name is Americ Hayden. I'm a captain in EMS, and one of my favorite parts of my job, one of my tasks that I'm assigned with, is to identify EMS excellence. Tonight, we're here to recognize Station 61 and the crews there and the excellent job they did when they saved a life. But before I do that, if I can take a minute to tell you a little bit about the history of EMS excellence and recognizing EMS excellence at Metro Fire. It started back with Chief Renicky, I think in 2023, giving out EMS excellent coins. We've, of course, recognized EMS excellence prior to that as well, but officially recognizing them was with the EMS excellence challenge coin. It's a mouthful. And then Chief Keeley has continued that and continued to carry that torch, and we've also expanded on that. This last year, we had our inaugural Survivor Social, at which time we recognized not only the dispatchers, but bystanders, crew members, and hospital staff, along with the patient. And that was very impactful, like Chief Johnson said. To be able to see the family members come and thank the crew for the crew members and their family members, to also be able to see the patient, I think is impactful. As Wellness, Health, and Safety discussed some of the trauma that some of our crew members see, I think it's important that we celebrate these victories for when they go out and they get a win, when they save a life, when they give that patient more time with their family members. So it has been extremely impactful, and it is my favorite part of my job as I get to set these up. We do two main things. We do in-stations, typically, like tonight was going to be an in-station, and we decided to bring it here. And we also do that Survivor Social. And there's several different ways that, and I won't take too much time, but there's several different ways that we learn about these different types of calls. We'll hear about them from chiefs, from captains. We'll also hear about them from the hospital staff, and from, so we hear about them that way, just getting feedback. We also look at our CARES numbers and our ROS. So we look at our return of spontaneous circulation, and then we look at CPC scores of 1 or 2, and that's cerebral performance categories. So basically, if they're able to walk, talk, and continue to go about their normal life, we would consider that pretty much a 1 or a 2. And so, although saving any life, regardless of their neurological function, is important, we really want to recognize and honor those that have a CPC of 1 or 2. And so when we go out in the station, we recognize these crews. We invite the dispatchers, bystanders. We'll invite, of course, the patient and their family. Tonight, the patient was not able to attend, and he's a great guy. He's an AI engineer that is working with Cal OES to help model wildfires and to create AI modeling for wildfires in order to help us do our jobs better and keep our members safe when they're out when they're deployed. But he was not able to come. He is excited to bring him, or to come and bring his family to the Survivor event that we're going to have in May. So that's the second one. We do this, the in-stations, and we also do the Survivor Social. We had our inaugural one last year, and we'll do another one that's going to be bigger and better this year. But without further ado, what I typically will do, we'll turn the time over to Chief Keeley. He's the one who presents on the commendation letters. All of the members of the crew will receive a commendation letter, but our lead medic will also receive an EMS challenge coin. And so without further ado, Chief Keeley.
Directors, I'm Chief Keeley, Director of EMS, and it's my honor to be able to show you what we do on a pretty regular basis in the firehouses, like Captain Hayden was mentioning. It's by far the best thing that I get to do as the Director of EMS, go out to the firehouses and recognize our members that are providing incredible life-saving care on a day-to-day basis. But I do want to recognize the efforts of Captain Hayden and the EMS team. Captain Hayden spends a lot of time coordinating these things, from the shift commanders to the battalion chiefs, the station captains, and making sure that the majority, if not all of the crew, are there to receive the recognition that we're able to provide. And then going out to the firehouses, like I said, it's just an honor to be able to speak to the crew members and to meet the families and hear their stories firsthand. There's a lot of tears that are shed at some of these things because they are so thankful for having another chance at life. So typically, like Americ said, I'll read this statement to the crew members and then present the challenge coin, and then everybody gets a copy of their certificate. So. It is with immense pride and gratitude that we commend the crews of Engine 61, Squad 61, and Medic 661 for their extraordinary actions on July 17, 2025, which resulted in the successful resuscitation of a 46-year-old man from cardiac arrest. As most know, survival in these cases is rare, but your swift and expert pre-hospital care coupled with bystander CPR gave this patient a second chance at life. Upon arrival for an unresponsive man at the OES building, you quickly identified him in ventricular fibrillation, a non-viable rhythm. During the course of treatment, you took decisive actions, which included securing an airway, gaining vascular access, providing 3 defibrillations, and administering cardiac medications. After obtaining return of spontaneous circulation, his heart rate accelerated to 200 beats per minute. Your clinical expertise shone through as you skillfully performed synchronized cardioversion, basically resetting his heart and returning him to a stable rhythm. The patient became responsive and was able to maintain his own airway, a testament to the seamless care and professionalism that defined this incident. The man you saved holds many titles: friend, son, husband, and a brilliant AI engineer. Thanks to your efforts, he has returned to a full and active life with a continued mission to serve. He's currently developing AI models to predict fire spread and resource allocation with the goal of saving lives, property, and the environment. The ripple effect of your actions is immeasurable, and your commitment to saving one life will undoubtedly affect thousands more to come. In recognition of your excellent performance during this emergency event, we proudly present you this challenge coin. May it serve as a daily reminder that your outstanding patient care saved this man's life. Congratulations on a job well done. We also have this is a newer addition. We have the dispatcher that took the call and provided the life-saving instructions to the bystanders that were able to do CPR prior to our crew's arrival, which we all know is one of those first couple of chains in that chain of survival, is the early recognition, early CPR, and early defibrillation. They also had an AED present, opened up, but it wasn't used. So we're making really great strides in our district to teach members of the public CPR, provide AEDs in the future, and there's a testament to our dispatchers that are able to provide those life-saving instructions prior to our arrival. So, thank you. Anybody would like to say anything about the call? Otherwise, that's it.
Captain, did you want to get a picture of them with the sign behind them? All right, let's get out of the way.
Yep.
Chief Keeley, can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
Knowing a little bit about this topic and knowing that paramedicine is a team sport, is it my understanding that only the ALS provider, the lead medic, is the one that receives the coin?
Yes, that's correct.
Is there a possibility that we could consider looking at, given that, again, it's a team sport and paramedics only as good as their team, is that we look at some other additional recognition for the members of the team that were participating? I'm just concerned if I'm an EMT, I'm never going to get a coin, and yet I play an integral role in the efficiency of that call.
Absolutely.
So whatever that looks like, I love that you bring the whole team here. I'd love to see if we could do something for the other members of the team. I still love the coin to the medic, But I think something else for the EMTs and other medics that were on scene maybe weren't lead.
Yes, that's a great question. Thank you for that. Every one of them gets a copy of the certificate signed by both our CQI manager, Adam Blitz, and myself as a recognition for that call. However, we have made a decision, it might be temporary, but to recognize that lead paramedic with the challenge coin, because we do present a lot of these. And the last thing that I would like is to have somebody receive their 4th and 5th and 6th one, and it become kind of white noise. So it is very special to receive the challenge coin. Many of our EMTs are also in a paramedic process and will either continue their career on as an MMP or transition to the fire suppression side. So there will be an opportunity for them to receive those challenge coins as well. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you so much, Chief. And I also just want to recognize Captain Nunez. I've seen a lot of these happen, a lot of the recordings of the postings of these events, and it's great to see those going out to the public so people can see the successes that we're having.
Yep.
So thanks, Captain.
Report.
Any questions for Chief Mitchell? Thank you so much. All right, we have no report on the administrative report. Support Services, Chief Wagaman. Good evening.
Good evening, President Wood, directors, Chief House, public. I think there's more than one here. Tyler Wagaman, Deputy Chief of Support Services, with your support report. First, I would like to recognize Fleet Manager Purcell. Not only does he maintain an enormous amount of staff, 350 pieces of equipment, and sometimes it's an impossible task, especially during the summertime. Now, with the Measure O money, he's having to manage a number of specs: fire engines, ambulances, dozers, squads, support vehicles, and the amount of time that goes into these specifications is enormous. And we're under a timeline because we have to get these done relatively quickly to have some cost savings, but we can't do it so fast that we get it wrong. So down to the placement of a screw is within thousands of pages of a specification for one singular apparatus. So I commend him as well as all of the members that sit on these spec teams to make sure that we are getting pieces of equipment that will serve this great district for many, many years to come. Next, logistics technician interviews are currently underway. They have been over the last few days. Hopefully we have a new member identified within the next couple of weeks. Recently, Fleet did receive 2 brand new remount ambulances. They are currently with our communication division getting upfitted, and we'll hopefully see those into service here very, very soon. Also, onto a good problem. I know it's an oxymoron, but with Measure O money and the influx of lots of new vehicles, lots of equipment, we're challenged with space. So working with Fleet, IT, communications, and logistics, they came up with a pretty detailed plan to make sure that we turn around these vehicles as quickly as possible, but still have a good spot for all of the equipment that we need to purchase for them. So a lot of the equipment has been purchased for this first batch on that first draw. The equipment is coming. When it arrives here, they have set up a very detailed process to maintain every nut and bolt that's required to go into these rigs. It gets palletized, wrapped, and it's going to be sent over to logistics where it will be secured and maintained until the vehicle arrives. So perhaps a simple process to the outside, but I think that's one of those benefits of having a special district and multiple divisions working together and working in concert to create some efficiencies within our system. So I commend them for that. IT, in conjunction with our facilities division, just completed training room 2. So they have new TVs up on the wall, have a whole new video system. Again, that was done for pennies on the dollar. We did that all in-house, really inexpensive televisions and great technology that will be used. It is identical to now training room 1. And they will be working to standardize the video system next in room 201, 321, and 322. At the request of the County Board of Supervisors, Chief Nygren just completed and issued the 2025 Fireworks After Action Review Report. Fantastic report, a lot of detailed information in there. She provided not only that to the County Board of Supervisors, but representatives at the Rancho Cordova, as well as City of Citrus Heights. It's also posted on our website for public viewing, and I know that each and every one of you obtained a copy of that as well. On to our facilities, a lot of work being done right now. A roof was just replaced at Station 58, as well as a TPO roof completed at Station 50, both with Measure O money. New vehicle gate access at Station 117 is currently underway. Facilities is working with the crews assigned to Station 54 and 111, working to update their landscaping. The roof at Station 51 was just repaired in preparation for the winter months. The exterior of Station 109, as well as the quarters for AC 24, is going to be repainted and should be completed within the next couple of weeks. And lastly, any interviews for facilities technician are currently have just been completed, and we hope to identify a new team member within that division here very, very soon. End of report, unless you have any questions for me.
Director Stark. Great work by everybody in the support services. For those of you who weren't here, or folks in the audience that weren't here earlier, I just want to mention again that what was brought up at the previous meeting on the CIP, the great work that Shay and his shop has done, saving us $4.8 million on apparatus. Really, really very outstanding work, and I want to make sure he's recognized for that.
Thank you, Director Stark.
Any other questions for Chief Wagaman? No? Excellent. Thank you so much for the details. All right, moving on now. Captain Scollard, Local 522. Good evening.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Chief House, colleagues, members of the public. Sean Scollard, Local 522 Vice President for the Metro Unit. Seeing that 61's in the room and stuff like that, I'm going to take a little bit different approach to the board report this evening, and I'm going to use this time to publicly apologize to the membership and specifically Station 61 for, in my opinion, misleading you to think that losing your suppression medic was justifiable, in a sense that we thought we were going to yield an increase in service delivery, and we were told yesterday that's not going to happen. That stings. We messaged the membership. I know how hard that hurt your station, the camaraderie that all of you have there. We told you to please see the big picture, that we had a plan in place. That's not happening. And I'm not here to point fingers anymore. I'm going to point the finger back at me. I'm the labor leader. I continue to put myself in situations where the carpet gets pulled out from underneath us, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the membership for misleading them into thinking that we were doing the right thing, which I don't lose any sleep overnight, not taking the district's offer to implement a squad back in June. That was the offer that was presented to us. That wasn't the right move at the time. I look back at that and think that that would have created more burden on the membership to get through a challenging time in the summer. We thought that we could wait, increase staffing, get this done in the fall. That was the plan that we had in place. I gave a board report June 19th to all of you to share the collaboration, the work, the pivot from the initial plan. That was the pivot. Let's hold off. Let's do a phased-in approach, were my exact words. We told the membership, stand fast, we got you. Help's on the way. Let's boost up our recruitment. Let's not pillage the MMP group right now. Let's increase our staffing and do it the right way. That didn't work out. And the only people that we can blame are ourselves right now because we continue to put ourselves in this situation. So we have to reflect back at how we do business. Labor management is an obligation within the MOU to have it on a quarterly basis. I'm telling you right now, that's what we are going to do. We will do quarterly labor managements. We're not doing them on a monthly basis anymore because I cannot continue to ask members of my team to sacrifice time away from their families to come into a room and not see productivity. We can't do it. I saw the emotion yesterday from one of my members who took time away from his family to be there and saw no results. So we're not gonna do that. It may make for shorter board reports. That's fine. It doesn't mean that we're not gonna continue to put forth effort to make this place better. We are going to do that. We're gonna explore every opportunity that we can to look at getting that suppression medic back for all of you. We want to continue the path forward, but we can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. We just can't do it. This hinders recruitment. We just heard that there's going to be 25 members of the next suppression academy. They're anticipating hiring only 17 in the MMP. That means that we have vulnerability to pillage the entire pool of the MMP group right now, because we were operating as a 20%. Now we're only operating as a 10. That was an agreement that we had in place that was, again, taken away without our knowledge. We have 7 in the pool right now. If we're hiring 17, that's 24. With a suppression academy at 25, that leaves us with the potential of -1. Where's the burden on them? It's not fair. It's not fair to the men and women that are out here grinding every single day, and for us to mislead them into thinking that help's on the way. So we're not gonna continue to do that. We started negotiations. It was a very sour start to negotiations just because labor management leading up to that. It's not the way that we wanted to start. I still feel like we had a productive meeting, and I won't take away from that. But the tone of labor management going into negotiations was not the one that we wanted. So we're gonna have to take a long, hard look in the mirror, and we're gonna change some of the way that we do things. And as much as I would say I'm open to any questions that you have, I would ask you to direct your questions to folks in the room that can truly answer those. So with that, I'm contained.
Any comments or questions for the captain? No? All right, thank you, Captain Scholar. Moving on, committee and delegate reports. The executive committee does not have a report at this time. Comm Center JPA also does not have a report at this time. Finance and Audit Committee, Director Stark.
We had a elongated meeting this morning, or earlier this evening, I should say. We went over the capital improvement program amended, as well as the final budget for 25-26 and the bi-monthly fiscal report through July 30th. Those documents are available for your perusal. And our next meeting is September 25th.
Thank you. Any questions for Director Stark? All right. Moving on, Policy Committee, Director Costa.
Thank you. Policy Committee has no report. Our next meeting is September 11th.
Moving on to board members' questions and comments. I'll start to my left with Director Rice. Moving over to Director Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just really proud of the station and the resuscitation, and it's nice to hear those stories. I'd just like to expand that a little bit. I'm privy to a piece of information where a crew showed up to a home that was not as dramatic as a code. And yet the comfort and the way the crew treated that patient was so significant that they shared with me that it saved their life. They had other things in their brain they thought they were going to do. But because of the passion that our crews show, that person chose a different path. So I think codes are great to celebrate, and certainly if somebody leaves the hospital neurologically intact, that's a win. But there's so many other wins that we do every single day in this organization that save a life. They're just different. So thank you to all the men and women who every day wake up and go out and treat our citizens with the respect that they deserve, even though that may be difficult sometimes. You still do it, and you save a life. And thank you. I'm very proud of all of you.
Thank you, Director. Director Clark.
No comment, thank you.
Director Stark.
No comment, thank you.
Director Weber.
No comments, thank you.
And Director Costa.
Thank you. I'd like to also just recognize the team and all the great work, and thank you for bringing them out here so we can see how this process goes. It's important to recognize the men and women out there. Chief, I do have a request that maybe, I think we heard a passionate report out, that we get a list of when the meetings are occurring, and maybe we can have a conversation about how we participate. But I feel like there's a lot of meetings that are happening that, one, I'm not aware of, which I don't need to be at, but I'm just curious if we're having struggles, how we as a board might be able to help assist in that. So just something to think about. We don't have to address it right now, but I think it's important that we continue the path forward and address the issues we have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Costa. The only thing I have to add is the Firefighters Burn Institute's got another fundraiser coming up. This one's a fun one. It's at Bertolucci's in Sac Yard Community Tap Room downtown, or actually in Midtown, East Sacramento area. It's on Saturday or Sunday, September 28th. And Chief, this one's one with the custom cars, the hot rods that are on display. So on the website, ffburn.org, that's where you can get your information, get your tickets, and register your car. So I look forward to seeing everybody there. We have a couple of items to cover in closed session. Hopefully, we will not see any of you all out here when we get back. So we're adjourned for now.
Recording in progress.
All right, we're back from closed session. Council Lavra, would you please report out?
Yes, thank you, President Wood. The board met in closed session for the two items on the closed session agenda. Number one, conference with legal counsel regarding the California Government Code Section 910 claim for property damage by Jason Sanchez. The board voted unanimously to reject that claim with the fire chief to pursue further handling of the claim. Number two, the board met in conference with its labor negotiator for the employee organizations listed in the closed session agenda. No reportable action was taken.
Thank you so much. Our next board meeting is September 11, 2025 at 6 o'clock right here. We'll see y'all then. Thank you.
Recording stopped.